Hello and welcome to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, the show where curiosity meets the open road. I'm your host Alistair, and I invite you to join me as we explore the world through travel, nature, getting outside, and the power of learning. Each episode, we will dive into stories from inspiring educators, adventurers, and global citizens who are reshaping what it means to learn, whether it's in a classroom, on a mountain trail, or even halfway across the world. From backpacking trips that change your perspective to educational journeys that transform communities, we will cover it all. So pack your curiosity, lace up your boots, and let's discover how the world teaches us, one step, one story, one adventure at a time. Laura Clark was born in California but has called the Rocky Mountains home for the past 20 years. With a lifelong connection to the outdoors, beginning as a dedicated Girl Scout, she has spent decades teaching survival skills and empowering others to thrive in nature. As the first woman to solo all of Colorado's 14ers, she continues to blaze trails both literally and figuratively, hosting Girl Scout groups on her land and inspiring the next generation of outdoor adventurers. Well, today we have joining us Laura Clark. Laura, thank you so much for joining me on the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's an absolutely beautiful day in Colorado, which most are, but wonderful day,
Yes.
Doing good.
Yeah, I've been to Colorado just a few times. I've been to Denver, Rocky Mountain National Park, and sort of areas south of Denver as we've driven up to it, and it's always, I'm sure it's not always beautiful, but it always seems to be beautiful. A lovely part of the country. So whereabouts in Colorado, roughly where are you?
Right in the middle of the state near Fairplay, Breckenridge area.
Okay.
Yeah, most people don't know where Fairplay is, but Breckenridge area. We're about 9,500 feet up here and love the mountain views. We get to see all sorts of mountains just living here, and wildlife. We have elk and pronghorn and deer and all sorts of fun stuff out here.
I love it. Yeah, I've got some family members who frequent the area, and they go back time and time again for good reason. They absolutely love it. But yeah, why don't you start off telling us just a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what is it sort of you do on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so my name is Laura Clark. I have a full-time job, but I consider myself a mountaineer. I climb about 150 peaks a year, living in Colorado. I am the first female to climb Colorado's 14er solo, and a 14er is a peak above 14,000 feet. I've also done the Bicentennial solo, and that's the 200 highest peaks in the state. It is my goal to be the first person to solo climb all of Colorado's 13ers solo, and we have 584 of those. I'm about 80 away. I love Girl Scouts. I love kids. I love sharing outdoor survival skills with other people and getting people that wouldn't think they're okay going out solo or going out hiking, giving them the skills to do that. That's kind of my passion is, no, you can do this. I started off not knowing what I was doing, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot around the way as I'm going. And it's kind of my goal to get people out there and no, you can do this. Let's just give you the skills. Go have fun. We have so many, especially in Colorado, so many places to go that are fantastic that I want people out there discovering them.
I've got so many questions about, I mean, that's such incredible stuff. So you said you did the first female to do all the 14ers. Is that correct?
The first to solo them, to do them by myself.
To solo them. That's
all of them.
I hope that there's
by myself.
I hope there's a plaque somewhere with your name on it. There should be. Well, that's an incredible achievement.
It's much better. The people that did it a long time ago, like now I've got GPS and stuff like that, but you've got some women that did it in the 1920s without any of that. They're the people that need the plaques made for them. Like they did it harder, much harder. And because they did it, now I can do it. So I also have a website where every single hike I do, every peak I climb, I put detailed pictures, like 50 to 100 pictures of the way to get up mountains and back down to keep people safe, because I want to pass that on. My website's all free. Nobody has to pay for it. If you want to climb this mountain, here's what it looks like. And I keep it free because I can climb what I do because other people did that as well. They recorded what they did and I take their information and I use it. Some of the peaks I climb are really rarely climbed And that's really another reason to get that information out there. How hard is this peak to climb? Can I actually do this? Do I need ropes?
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I always try to think of these outdoors experiences and really anything. It's all just passing through us. There's people who have gone before us who have achieved things, done things, learned
Yes.
things, and there will be people after us. So it's our responsibility as human beings to just, to carry this information and realize the weight and the responsibility of it. But we have that duty and obligation to pass it forward, which it sounds like exactly what you're doing with your work with the Girl Scouts.
Yeah,
Um,
and to do it
that's
safely.
simply
Doing it safely
incredible.
is my thing. I want
Right.
people to go out there and to know what they're getting into before they go. This is exactly what it's going to look like. If you don't have the skills, like when I first started, I didn't have the skills. I got to some things and I went, I can't do that. I turned around and I went back home. It's always okay to turn around on a mountain every time. That's the right
Right.
decision if you feel comfortable. And I joined a climbing gym and I learned how to use ropes and how to rock climb and all that stuff. And then went back and was able to be successful. But it's nice to know before you go if that's the skill you need or if you're just following a trail all the way to the top.
So I was going to ask you, how did you start off climbing? Is this something you grew up doing, or something you came to a little bit later
I
on?
have always been a hiker. I've always been a hiker. I was a Girl Scout my entire life from the time I was 6. And I went to Girl Scout camp, and they always had an option like, do you want to climb the nearby peak? And we'd have, 4 or 5 really brave counselors that would take all of us, 10-year-olds up to the top of the peak. And we were
Right.
all dusty and dirty. And I loved it. That to me was absolutely amazing. I loved hiking. I loved doing it. And we could see the entire
Right.
camp below us from the peak. And I looked at all those people swimming in the pond or in the pool. And I'm like, you could be up here right now. It was cool to me. They were loving what they were doing, but I was
Right.
really loving hiking. But I didn't get into mountaineering until about 2014 when I was taking a group of Girl Scouts up Pikes Peak. I'm a very involved
Right.
leader and I'll do whatever these girls want to do. And they wanted to backpack up Pikes Peak. So we decided to do it, made it a 3-day trip. And on the way down, there was a freak snowstorm. This was August, which is
Wow.
pretty much summer conditions for us, but mountains make their own weather. We got 6 inches of snow. They ended up rescuing 7 different people that day who were very, very ill prepared, using all the skills they had learned that we had been talking about for years. They got the Red Cross Hometown Hero of the Year award and Spirit of the Springs award and a bunch of awards for doing it. Just rescuing these people that couldn't start a fire, they didn't have the right clothing, they were hypothermic, all this kind of stuff. It was exciting for them. And I enjoyed the experience. It was a ton of fun being with them. And I went, you know what? This is a fun hike. We did it in 3 days. I could do it in a day easy. So I started doing
Right.
it. I started doing it once a week. Every Friday I would do it. I would drop my kids off for school and I'd climb it and I'd come back down. And now this isn't an easy hike. It's 26 miles round trip with 7,500 feet of elevation gain. But I was able to
Right.
do it in 7.5 hours over and over and over again. And I had done it a couple dozen times. This was just like my Friday workout. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. And somebody goes, so how many 14ers have you done? On my way down, I met somebody and she asked me this. And I'm like, well, what's a 14er?
Hmm.
I didn't even know we had all these mountains in Colorado that I could climb. And then I was
Right.
hooked. I'm like, I don't have to do the same hike every day. I can pick something else. This is fantastic. There's a whole bunch of these. And I did all the 14ers. There's 58 in Colorado. I did them all in a year. And then I had to keep
In a
going, right? Because
year.
I did them all in a year. And then I just wanted to keep going. So I started on the 13ers. And I really started this
Right.
in 2017. I started the 14ers in 2017. For 3 years, I hiked Pikes Peak every Friday, and then realized, oh, there's more, and started really going at it and loving it. Just the different terrain, because while Pikes Peak is a long hike and it is strenuous,
Hmm.
it's class 1. So that means there's a trail all the way to the top. With all these other ones, I was finding, oh, I have to navigate my own way. I've got to use a compass. I have to figure this out. And that just engaged my brain a little bit more. And I got excited. I'm going to see different stuff. There's different animals in this part of the state. I know if I hike this mountain, I'm going to see bighorn sheep. Where if I hike this one, I'm going to see mountain goats or moose or something like that. And it became
Right.
became an addiction. It really did.
I could see you. I could see that would, knowing my nature too, it could very easily become something you go to sleep thinking about and wake up thinking about, and it becomes such an
Yes,
important part of your identity. I'm sure.
yes, it consumes me
Um,
all the time. Even today, like I'm looking what am I going to do tomorrow? What mountain am I going to climb tomorrow? What does the weather look like? Is the road passable? Can I actually get to the trailhead? Because we're still melting out here in Colorado right now. There are some trailheads I can't get to. Like the gates close 20 miles
Right.
before where I need to park. So what looks good? Where's the snow level? What am I doing? And ready to head out again tomorrow. Climb a mountain.
That's wonderful. It's always put things in perspective for me. So I live just north of Dallas, but from Scotland. And there's a similar sort of vibe about Munros in Scotland, which are basically big hills. And people, it's called Munro bagging, where people are trying to do all of
Yes.
them. There's a couple of hundred, I think. They're 3,000 feet. And it puts things in perspective a bit, with
Yeah.
just how majestic Colorado is and quite how beautiful it is to have. What was it, about 150 peaks over 14,000 feet?
Oh no, there's
Or
58
maybe
above
it's
14,000 and there's
50.
584 above 13,000. And then
That's
there's a
okay.
whole lot
Yeah.
more above 12 and 11. I mean, there's so much hiking here. You can hike someplace every single day for the rest of your life and never double a hike.
It's just amazing. Yeah, it's something I've driven up Pikes Peak, but
Mhm.
that's the easy way out, you know. But I do remember it being about 40 degrees difference at the top as opposed to the bottom. It was warm when we set off, and
Yes, yeah, it is
yeah,
definitely different when you're 14,000 feet up. Definitely much colder. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a picture of my wife somewhere with her sunglasses and t-shirt and all that at the bottom, and then catching snow in her hands at the top. Like just
Yes.
little flakes of snow, but it was just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So tell me
Funny
more about
story.
the girls. Oh,
Oh, I
no,
was just going
sorry,
to say
go
a funny
ahead.
story with that. The first time I went up Pikes Peak, I was 8. And my parents drove me to the top, but we had been
Right,
staying in a hotel, and I had a bathing suit on just because I was 8,
right,
right? I had a bathing suit on. Got
right.
out, it was snowing at the top, and I got out and walked around a little bit, got right back in the car. But yeah, I was on top of Pikes Peak in a bathing suit when I was younger, just for fun. So
I love that. I love that you have that memory too. That's fantastic. So talk to me a little bit more about the Girl Scouts. Obviously, you were in the Girl Scouts as a child, and I think you said you have children now. But what role does being a leader within the Girl Scouts organization, play in your life now?
okay, so I've been a Girl Scout since I was 6. My mom was a Girl Scout. My grandma was a Girl Scout. I knew when I had kids, my daughters were going to be Girl Scouts. I knew that, and because it's such an amazing organization, has wonderful programming. If you get the right leader in there and you execute the
Hmm.
programming correctly, these girls are going to do phenomenal. And I had been in a lot of troops when I was younger. I was in good troops and I was in bad troops,
Hmm.
and sometimes, well, most of the time, the leader's only there for a couple of years. So you don't have continuity with what you're doing and growing and learning the skills in order. Outdoor survival skills, it's a progression thing. You need to learn something so you can learn something else, so you can learn something else. So when I had daughters and I'm like, I want you in Girl Scouts, I realized I needed to be their leader if I wanted them to have the
Right.
best experience. I wanted them to have one troop the entire time. I didn't want them merging with other troops and all that kind of stuff. I wanted the continuity. My girls luckily loved doing it, which was really helpful. And I loved doing it. And I
Right.
found as an adult, being a leader, I learned so much more than I learned as a girl. I took everything I learned as a girl and as a Girl Scout and then had to
Hmm.
apply it differently because now I'm the teacher, right? Like now I'm teaching it. So I really have to know what I'm doing.
Right.
And it's a huge passion of mine. The whole organization is a huge passion of mine. When it's implemented correctly, it is life changing for these girls. And now I've got 5 kids between the ages of 21 and 26, and I have a lot of Girl Scouts that are in their 30s, and almost all of them have graduated college by this point, and they're having their own families. They're getting married, having kids. They're putting their kids in scouting, and it's like it mattered. It was good enough for them. They enjoyed it enough to say, "I want my kids to do this." And that's amazing as a
What
volunteer.
what bigger compliment is there than that?
Exactly,
Um,
exactly. And even though my kids are grown, I still volunteer. So this weekend, I had a troop of girls in middle school come stay at our property, and
mhm.
they were working on an engineering badge. So we taught them how to build a bridge, and they got to build a bridge, and it went over our creek, and they got to paint our outhouse, which they like to paint, so that was more fun for them than learning. But
Right.
but they also got other skills. We went hiking, we did animal ID, we did nature tracking, we found bones and figured out what animals those bones were from, and they're learning stuff
Wow.
without realizing they're learning stuff, right? They're learning, oh, I see these tracks. What are they? Let's
Hmm.
look at the scat out here. Which way is the animal moving? Is it going away from us or coming towards us? And what is it? Should we be scared that this animal's here? Or should we be excited that this animal is here? And I know several of the girls today, they left just a couple hours ago and they're like, we don't want to leave. We love it out here. And that's cool. Kids do like being in nature. They don't necessarily need their iPad or their phone or, screen time all the time. They really come alive when they're just outside enjoying nature.
I love the way you phrase that. That's really the motivation behind starting this podcast. Is I've been in education really my whole career, and whenever we take it, so we're kind of in the Dallas metroplex. It's pretty urban where we are, and so there's a lot of the kids we serve really don't ever leave this area as children, except for when we take them to science camp, which is about where we usually take them. It's about 70 or 80 miles out. And you just see them almost shed this layer of armor that they've carried around with them when they're in their sort of home setting or school setting. They have to be tough. They have to be, it's a survival mechanism. And suddenly all these kids that are all about the fashion, the iPads, the this and that, are playing with sticks and they're just chasing each other around and there's laughter. And it's just amazing. And that's what keeps me going and keeps me thinking, how can we mesh these two worlds of education and the outdoors together?
Yes.
And in
Yeah.
my
Camping kind of
head,
equalizes.
yes.
I
Hmm.
mean, the kids
Oh,
that
go
don't
ahead.
like, and I see that too. There are no, there's no. We told them this. You can't charge your phone out here. We don't have a way to do that, so you don't have it. And camping or being in the outdoors puts everybody on the same playing level, right? Like you've all got a sleeping bag, but you've all got to cook together and do things together. And it doesn't matter how much money you have at home or what you're doing at home. You're here. We're a team, and we're going to make this happen. I had a
Right.
lot of girls in my troops from different schools. They had, we're all together maybe in elementary school, but as they got older they went to different middle schools and high schools. And I see a lot of kids that
Right.
they kind of get stuck in this, I have to be this person at school because it's what I was put into. I'm in this group, I'm in this friend group, I've got to
Yes.
act this way. But when they would come to scouts they could totally be themselves. It didn't matter what their social
Yeah.
status was in school. They would come to scouts and they are who they are. We know this person is good at this, you get to be in charge of this. You're good at teaching this, you're going to do this. And everybody enjoyed everybody else's skills. Yeah, your personality is not the best. We're not going to be best friends, but we're going to get along. And I know that if I ask you to do something, it's going to get done. And it was wonderful to see my girls grow up with that, where, yeah, we would never be in the same social circles. But now, I mean, even now, my oldest, they're all, like I said, they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They all meet for coffee.
Hmm.
They do stuff together, but they would never have
Right.
done stuff. Like one of my girls was captain of the boys ice hockey team in high school. We all
Wow.
went to
Right.
see her play a game, right? And then somebody else was really big into theater, and we all went to go see her in a play. They wouldn't have been friends in school. They wouldn't have been in the same social circles at all. But yet it was really cool to go to that hockey game and to cheer her on, or to go to the play and bring her flowers and all that kind of stuff. They made great friends
Right.
that they wouldn't have normally been friends with, because at school you got to be a different person, right? You've got this little shell around you that says this is the status I
Hmm.
have and I got to stay in that.
Yeah, that's absolutely what we see as well. And I mean, while you were talking, I was just thinking, I mean, these are lifelong transferable skills, whether it's, a teacher in the classroom or somebody in a boardroom, being able to get along with people that you wouldn't necessarily get along with, but for the sake of a common goal, for a purpose, there's bigger things going on than whether you like or don't like each other. And how
Yes.
far that skill could take people in life in 100 different professions, careers, whatever it might be. Like, what a valuable skill to have learned at such a young age.
Yeah, that was very well stated. But yes, absolutely. We all have to deal with people we don't like, but they might, I mean, they're there for a purpose. We have to deal with them. And yeah, how do you do that? You don't have to be best friends, but you do got to get along. Like, got to work
Right.
together.
We've got to figure this one out together. Absolutely. So really thinking about Girl Scouts and maybe your own career and doing all these 14ers, what do you think is the biggest leap of faith you've ever taken?
Well, and this doesn't really fit with that, but just when I got a divorce, I had to do everything on my own. And that's when I actually started mountaineering and hiking and going out on my own. I wouldn't have done it had I not gotten a divorce. I wouldn't have gone solo. I didn't have anybody to go with, right? Like, and that was scary. At the
Right.
beginning, it was really scary. Especially a lot of these peaks, you've got to start at 2 or 3 in the morning to get them done before
Mm-hmm.
the storms come in. So I'd be hiking at night by myself for hours on end with all these other animals that I know are out there. And that was really, really scary to get over. Just, I don't know what's out there. And I'm hearing stuff, but eventually I got to a place where I'm like, I could actually smell animals. I could smell if they were in the area,
Wow.
kind of thing. But the whole going solo thing was hard. That was hard. And it was mainly because I didn't have anybody to go with me, but I wanted to go, right? Like I wanted to go. I knew
Right.
I had the skills to go. And the first couple times I did stuff, I'd have somebody, but they weren't into it like I was. They weren't going to go every week. They weren't going to go 4 times a week. That's a really small subset of the population that really likes that kind of exercise.
Right.
Couldn't find them. And going solo was the hardest thing in the beginning, but I eventually got over that because I knew I had the skills. I've been training the skills, right? I've been training them for years. I figured if anybody needed help, I'd be the one rescuing them anyway, so I might as well do it. Might as well go. But yeah,
I
going
love
solo.
that. I suspect that, I mean, again, all I'm thinking about now is what a metaphor that is for something I'm sure a lot of people go through. Whether, getting divorced is not uncommon, and people almost always have to take a leap of faith into the unknown, whether it's climbing or moving into their own house or starting a new career. So I think the divorce can really make us have to take these leaps. And what beautiful metaphor, a more beautiful metaphor is there other than having to climb up a mountain by yourself in the dark? But it be so rewarding in the end.
Yes, and
Um,
it actually
it just,
it gave me clarity. It really did. Hiking solo gave me time to think and to become a better person.
hmm
Like when you're out there, you're living with your thoughts, right? You're by yourself and you're hiking for
hmm
10 hours at a time, and you get to go through all the wonderful decisions you made and all the bad decisions you made. And you get to go
hmm
through what's going on at work, or what are my kids doing, or how am I dealing with this relationship? And you can yell and scream to yourself all the things you want to say. You want to say all this negative stuff, you can say it. And then you can go through it and go, that's not the adult way to handle this. This is not how normal people would handle it. I can get it out, and then I can go, no, the right way to handle this situation is to be the better person. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to handle the situation. This is going to how I'm going to handle how my kids are doing in school, or relationship with my significant other, or my parents, or whatever it is going on in my life, coworker, and
hmm
do the right thing, but still get enough time to say all the nasty things in my head I really want to say, but that you
Yeah.
shouldn't say, right? Like that's not going to
Yes.
help anything. I want to react this way. That is not the right way to react. So let me say it. Let me cry. Sometimes there's a lot of crying involved. And then,
hmm
okay, I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm going to handle it this way.
Yeah, no, I love that. So once or twice a year, I'll go on multi-day hikes by myself. You don't realize how distracted we all are all the time until you have nobody around you, essentially nothing to do, and suddenly your brain can just decompress and start thinking about all these things you just mentioned: good decisions, bad decisions, indecisions, and you get a chance just to reflect. So, and every time I come back home after being away for a couple of days, it is with a renewed sense of clarity. As you said, it does give you that.
Yes,
So,
yes. And you
yeah,
saying that, like that is, I need it personally. At this point, I've been doing it for so long, I need it. And my husband now, when I get a little testy, he's like, honey, you need to go on a hike because he knows that when I do that, I'll get to process things, and I just come back a nicer person, right? I just come back a nicer person. And he means it lovingly. He doesn't mean it negatively, but he's like,
oh,
you really do need to go on a hike. And I'm like, okay, I'll go on a hike tomorrow. And yeah, I'll realize, okay, maybe I wasn't as nice as I should have been about this, or maybe I didn't thank him enough for this, or appreciate this, or whatever. Or maybe not, but usually it's, yeah, I was being a little testy this week. Okay, I see it.
yeah.
Be a
My
better
wife
person.
is my wife is reading from the same playbook as your husband. It sounds like, because there'll be times that I'm like, stressed out about something, or something's going on, and I think I'm coping with it, and she'll just go, do you need to go camping for a night? Why don't
There you
you
go.
head out for a night? And she'll
And
call
that's a
it before I
wonderful partner.
realize it.
Yep, yeah.
Exactly,
He'll
exactly.
do it to me, and I won't
This
even
is
realize
one.
it. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
one of the secrets to a long and happy relationship. Absolutely. Now, if you could spend one day in somebody else's shoes, who do you think it would be and why?
Does it have to be somebody living?
It does not. No,
Okay.
it can be
Okay.
anybody.
Okay. I would say, honestly, Sacagawea or Sacagawea or however we say her name now, but I would absolutely love to have seen what she saw and to bring Lewis and Clark over, and that to me would be fantastic. I would love to see what she did, how she lived
Wow.
it. I know she was young. She was like 16 to 20 when she was doing that.
Hmm.
But just to see her point of view and how she navigated at that time. I have great navigation tools that I use. I can also navigate without them, but I would love to know how she did it and what she saw and how she explained things and what they called things. That to me would be amazing.
Yeah, that would. I mean, what a fascinating part is if you could even just, yep, sit down for a meal with somebody like that, just
Yes.
how they did it. Absolutely unbelievable. What does success mean to you now, and how do you think your definition of success has changed over the years?
Okay, success to me right now is just being happy. For a long time, I went through a bad divorce and I had no money. I had no money for a decade. I was trying. I was working. I had kids to raise. I'm trying to raise them what I felt was the right way, putting them in sports and putting them in music and putting them in scouting. And I did all that, but I had no money the entire time. And I thought to myself, okay,
Hmm.
if I can just save a little bit of money, like I don't even have enough to make a house payment. If I don't make it this month, I don't have anything left over to make another one. I had no money in the bank. I zeroed out every month
Hmm.
on my kids. Don't regret that at all. But that was very, very difficult to go through. And I was always thinking, oh, if I just had, 2 months, 3 months worth of bills in the bank, that would make me happy, right? Because then I'd have security and I would know that if something
Yes.
happened, I'd be okay. I went for a decade knowing that if I broke my leg or if I lost my job, I can't raise
Oh,
my
we see we've
kids.
lost Laura's
Now that
video.
my kids
Let's see
are
what
out of the
Laura's
house and I'm
got.
an empty nester, I don't worry.
In there we go. So Laura just dropped the line dropped for just a second, but Laura, you are back.
Okay, awesome. So I think I just said that, I didn't have enough money to raise my kids. I barely made it, barely every month, nothing left over. And I really thought that having money would make me happy or feel successful. And now
Hmm.
that I've been an empty nester for 4 years, I have realized that that's not it. I am happy in the middle of nowhere just sitting by a stream. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I can see a pronghorn
Hmm.
antelope walking outside of my door. That is amazing. That's making me happy right now, being in the middle of nowhere, listening to the stream running down and calm, not dealing with a lot of people, knowing that I did good this weekend. I know I did good, right? Like, I had a bunch of Girl Scouts here this weekend. I changed their life. That is my happiness and that is success to me. They were thrilled. We didn't have anything go wrong this weekend. Nobody got hurt. Everybody had fun. They were laughing. They were getting along. They learned a ton of new skills. I feel good about that. That's success to me. It's not money anymore. It was before because I just needed to get by. But once I could get by, then it didn't
Hmm.
matter. Then it was just what is happiness to me? And happiness is being in the middle of nowhere and climbing mountains all the time. Or
I
having
love it.
scouts over, teaching scouts. You know, that's fun.
I love it. Yeah, it's I've never really looked into it, but I've always people think money, 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 but it's security. But also,
Hmm.
when people end up making a ton of money, does that really solve the problems that deep down that they were struggling with? Probably not. Life is always easier with some money in the bank. I get it, but I don't think it's
Yes.
the source of happiness. I
Yeah.
mean,
No.
I'm in
Security. Security
education.
helps.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely, without a doubt. Now, I'm just fascinated. I just love the Girl Scout stories. Like they just put a smile on my face, and I don't know, these kids, of course, or anything, but I can imagine what it's like. Can you tell me? Is there one specific? Obviously, don't tell me their name, but the specific child that has maybe said something that has just stuck with you throughout the years. I'm a teacher. My wife's a teacher, and we sometimes have these. Oh, there was this moment with this child and it put my whole career in a slightly new direction. Or on a bad day, I remembered this child. Do
All
you have
right.
such a similar sorts of story?
I probably have a ton,
Maybe
but one that
many.
comes to mind right away. We were hiking. We did Pikes
Hmm.
Peak a lot. So after that first time when those girls ended up saving a bunch of people, we liked it, so we did it every year. And our troop was very inclusive. We had a lot of very high functioning girls and some that weren't, and we didn't necessarily say, we didn't say no. If somebody wanted to be in the troop, it didn't matter where you were, physically or mentally. If you were the right age, you could be in the troop. And one of the girls that we brought up Pikes Peak this time had just lost her father the week before. Her father had died, and she really wanted to go on this hike up Pikes Peak. This girl, I don't know exactly everything that was going on with her, but she did have some disabilities. No physical disabilities, but other disabilities that were very apparent. Not really sure what they were, but it was a struggle. And she said to me before the hike, she's like, I just want to make it. Because we talk about our team goals and what we want to do. And she's like, I just want to make it to the top. Okay, she had just lost her father. She had other issues she was dealing with as well. We're going to get to the top. It's a long hike, right? It's 13 miles to the top. This is a 26-mile round trip hike. And she did really well the first 10 miles. And then she that was it. But she told me she wanted to keep going. So we weren't pushing her, but we were. We were like, come on, you got this, you got this. We'll hold hands. We'll climb together. I had girls that were, would climb up a rock and then reach their hand down and help her to get up it. And it took a lot longer than it should have to normally do this hike. But we stuck with it, and she stuck with it. Even though she was complaining, she still wanted to keep going. And we get to the top, and we're at the top of Pikes Peak, and this is a 14,000-foot peak. And she looks to the sky, and she raises her fist, and she goes, this is for you, Dad. I made it. And I broke down. I just started crying. I was like, oh, my gosh. Like, she was doing it for her dad. She didn't tell us that beforehand, but that's the reason she wanted to summit. And I was so glad that, she did it. She did this. But I'm so glad that I didn't just say, nope, stop, sit, we're done. It was, she wanted to go, and we kept pushing her along, and she did it. And she was doing it for her dad. She was doing it in memory of her dad. She thought that was the closest place she could be, just to say hi to him.
I did not expect to feel that swell of emotion in this conversation. Like that legit, like, brings a tear to my eye. Like, how sad, but how wonderful.
It.
Yeah, like, oh, that gets me. That story right in the heart.
And it made it all worth it, right? It made all the whole, I need to sit for a long time, I'm tired, I don't want to keep it. I'm like, you told me you want to do this. And I didn't know the reason behind it. And yeah, that was very, very emotional and wonderful girl.
What a beautiful moment out of such tragic circumstances. That really, really is. Now, for the next 6 months, what do you see occupying a lot of your time, your thoughts, and your resources? What does the immediate future hold for you?
Okay, so starting tomorrow, I will be living out of my truck for the next 3 months, going trailhead to trailhead, trying to finish these 88 peaks I have left. So the back of my truck is set up to live in. I've got a bed back there. I've got food. I've got a heater. I've got, a place to use the restroom. And I will just be trailhead to trailhead hiking these peaks until the weather gets too bad to sleep in the back of my truck anymore. And not just sleeping in the back of my truck. Sometimes it's just my vehicle to get to a trailhead, and then I go backpacking from places. It's just a place to keep it. But that is my immediate. I'll be doing that until probably the middle of October, early November. That'll be what I do. But you said 6 months. So after that, I'm a traveler. And I've got several trips planned. So I just got back from South America. I'll be heading to South Korea. One of my sons is stationed there right now, and I want to go visit him.
Right.
And then I've got a daughter graduating college in January, so we'll be taking her on a trip to the Caribbean. And my father-in-law just turned 75, so we're taking him on a trip. So, yeah, next 6 months is mountaineering, and then vacation. And then when...
I love everything about it.
Yeah, I've
That's
learned...
wonderful. Well, this segues into...
Yeah. I've learned in the past few years to enjoy life. I'm not going to be young forever. My grandpa's 97, and he's been telling me he's still very there mentally, but physically he's just not there anymore. And he says the best time to travel is before you turn 70, because once you're 70, you have all this free time, but your body's not necessarily where it was, and it's harder. So he's 97 right now, and he would love to travel. He has all the time in the world, but he cannot physically travel. He just can't. He's got the money to do it. It's too hard on him. He can't do it. He's like, do it now. Right. And I take that to heart. Yeah. Okay. If I'm supposed to do it before I get too old to do it, I'm doing it now. I'm going to experience it. We only get one life,
Good
right?
for you.
Do it.
Exactly. And yeah, what a great piece of advice.
And
Yeah, because
vacation for me
once
is
you,
not the beach.
mhm,
Like or not sitting. You see
right,
people that go to on vacation and they sit and read a book the whole time. I can do that at home. Okay, if I'm not going to spend all this money to travel to this foreign country to sit on a beach, to me personally, that's fine if that's what you want to
right.
do. But I want to learn the culture. I want to meet the people. I want to climb the peaks. I want to visit the rainforest. I want to go down that waterfall. I want to do whatever. I'm not sitting in a chair for a week. I'm not spending all that money to sit on the beach. I could do
I
that.
Yep. I've never done that kind of trip, where you just go and like sit in a hotel and sit in a chair. Never done it. I've got no desire to do it. It's
There you
just
go. Yeah.
like the place I love to relax and unwind and just is on my own couch or my own back porch. Is
Yes.
home. This is home base. I'd like to go and have adventures in the rest of the world.
Yes. Yes.
But
That's
this
yeah.
segues quite nicely. If people want to follow your adventures, they want to follow your mountaineering. Where can they find you? Are you on social media? You mentioned you have a website? Well, unfortunately, we got disconnected just as Laura was about to share her social media accounts and where you can find her. First of all, I do want to say she has a book out on Amazon called Wild Wanderer. I'm sure it's available in other places too, but look for Wild Wanderer, soloing Colorado's 200 highest peaks. You can find her on Instagram, Wild Wanderer. If you search for the handle at Laura_M_Clark, that's Laura_M_Clark, you will find her there. And she also has a website, wildwanderertripreports.com. She has got really, really detailed accounts of adventures she's been on and tons of photos. It's a great website, www.wildwanderertripreports.com. Thanks again to this week's guest, and I hope today's episode sparked some curiosity or perhaps even inspired your next adventure. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and consider sharing it with somebody who's always ready to explore. You can find more information at the Outdoorsy Educator on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Until the next time, keep wondering and keep wandering.